Welcome to the Swim Swam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, the University of Florida's and now SEC champion for the 9th time in a row, we've got Coach Steve Jungbluth. Steve, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me, Coleman. This is great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I just talked to Adam Chaney, freshman stud for you guys this weekend. And he told me about the team meetings that you guys were having. And that's kind of what I want to start, because he said you guys would as a sprint group come together and, share your feelings, your fears, what you were afraid of, what you would like to happen, and kind of tap into a side that we don't normally talk about, which is kind of that emotional side of swimming. And so I'd like to ask you, where did this come from? And can you tell me a little bit about these meetings?
The short answer is no, not really, because Adam, what he was talking about, I think it was a couple of different things pieced together. One, we have a counselor who's been great with our team, and he up till recently he's done a lot of one-on-ones for various reasons. But lately, Coach Nesty has asked him if he would meet with the entire team, and we've been doing that. And the coaches don't go because we want the dialogue to be completely unguarded. And so it's just our guy Dwayne with the team. And, they know it's a safe spot. They can say whatever they want. And so, he touches on a lot of that stuff. And I think that was one aspect of it. And so I'm not there, and Dwayne, he doesn't come and say, well, this guy, if there's something, that's obviously of a concern, he lets us know. But he's the expert in that area and does a great job with it. And I think the other part of it, because I did just watch Adam's interview to see how he did. And I think the other part of that comment was that as a sprint group, those guys kind of get together on their own a little bit every now and then and talk about what to expect, what the older guys have been through at SECs, mistakes, to try to avoid in your first time out, and things like that. And so I think Adam's been fortunate that he's got both some experienced sprinters on the team that have been there, made some mistakes on their own, and can pass down some wisdom to him. And also with the bigger meetings with our counselor, who's done an awesome job with everybody. Yeah.
It's so obviously, you don't know, you're not there for these counselor meetings with Dwayne, but do you notice a difference in how these athletes carry themselves after meeting with someone like that?
Not initially after any one meeting, but I will say that over the course of the season, I definitely see a lot of maturation, a lot of growth emotionally amongst many of the guys, and it's been fun to work with this group because of that. So I feel like there's a lot more coaching at a higher level. The discussions are at a higher level, and the topics that we're talking about, we can stay on point and not worry about, guys, kind of freaking out and needing their hand held. They can handle a lot more pressure, because SECs, I'm sure, as you know, it's a lot of pressure. And these guys feel that, so that it's a good resource to have, and it was good to see them handle it like they did.
Yeah, I mean, so from your perspective, getting this sprint group prepared for that level of pressure, especially with the team battle that you and Georgia had this year, you guys looking to defend your title, but didn't come easily. How did you go about this season preparing this sprint group, and especially, these new freshmen, to get them ready to compete at that high level?
Yeah, a lot of it is, we have 35 guys on the team, give or take, and it's a pretty large team. And a lot of it is the daily competition. We said a number of times, anytime our freestylers all get together, you've got some guys in the mid group, some guys distance, some guys that go sprint. when they all get together, it's pretty awesome because, you know, you got guys like Bobby Fink and Kieran Smith pulling guys that haven't accomplished all that much as those guys have, pulling them along, and it gets really competitive. And so part of it is just the day-to-day and the high standards that their teammates set and the high standards that the coaches set, that they have to meet. And I think that's the bulk of what helps to get them prepared to compete at that level. I don't think it's anything really that I can say to them to get them ready, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for you as a coach, do you feel like you had to make quite a bit of adjustment this year just due to the pandemic?
As a coach, no, I don't think so. I feel bad for the guys because they had to make adjustments. You know, we had to do it maybe a little bit more meet prep because we didn't have as many competitions, obviously. So there was a little bit more time spent, you know, kind of, especially with the sprint guys, making sure that they would mentally kind of get in the zone and, you know, imagine that they were at the competition before we would do something really intense, really fast, so that they weren't going to experience that in dual meets. Some of them didn't get to go to really any meets, you know, one, maybe two meets. So it was, that was a little bit more challenging. I think that was the biggest factor, and just trying to prep them, let them kind of see it, let them ask questions about what was going to happen, and kind of let them go through it mentally before we do something super intense.
That seems like a great strategy. I really like that. And then I've got to ask about Adam Chaney, who just, you know, times wise had a sensational weekend. Do you feel like heading into the meet, I think freshmen are a little more unpredictable typically just because you haven't worked with them as much. I feel like heading into the meet, he was going to put up some of those times that he ended up doing?
I think the backstrokes were probably a little bit faster than I might have originally imagined him going. You know, when he's out of high school, he was a sprint freestyler who could do backstroke, and his coach said, yeah, he's going to be good at backstroke. And we said, okay. We kind of kept us in the back, stayed in the back of our brains. But I think at that time, I don't think we were thinking, you know, 44 plus. You know, his sprint freestyle, certainly, you know, every sprinter who's come in recently, they all have their sights, you know, set after one guy, and they're all gunning for that. And I think, you know, Adam's no exception. And so to see a guy go 18 plus with that kind of talent, that wasn't out of the realm of my imagination, you know, and his 100, because of that, his 100 free, certainly. I would have loved to have seen his 200 because I think he's got potential in that as well. That will probably surprise a lot of people someday, but not yet. We needed him in the other events.
So just to wrap things up a little bit, you know, we all know that one guy you're talking about, which is a guy you coached in Caeleb Dressel. And I mean, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen 4 freshmen crack 19 in the 50-yard freestyle. I mean, it's like you like you said, they're all gunning for these times, for these standards that Caeleb has set. And just as someone who coaches sprinters and who has coached Caeleb, what do you make of these, you know, young kids coming in and just really going for it?
It's great to see. It's, you know, it reminds me that back in 2008 when we had all these rubber suits and all these records got smashed, and you know, people said we're 20 years ahead of our time now with these records. They're not going to be touched for a long time. And you know, it was within a few short years where they started getting broken. So I think anytime a standard gets set, people's mind shifts, and all of a sudden the impossible becomes imaginable, and then it becomes possible. And I think Caeleb set that standard that, hey, us freshmen, these freshman guys out there can break 19. It'll be interesting to see how they develop from there. Obviously Caeleb developed quite a bit over his 4 years, and that was great to see. And it'll be interesting to see how these young guys develop over the next 4 years, and see if they can, get to the next level, get to the next stage.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming on such short notice as well. But it's always great catching up with you. Any parting thoughts before we sign off?
No, I appreciate the time. It's great. It's great what you do for our sport, getting all this out there to the masses. I think it's wonderful. So appreciate what you do.
You've been listening to the Swim Swam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take Swim Swam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.